What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another War Within video. Hope you're all doing very well. If you haven't noticed, my hair is in fact blue now. I don't know if you can kind of tell there. It's hard to see. It's kind of a darker blue. Last night on stream, we had a big subathon for the Shaman changes that have just come in to the War Within, and I dyed my hair blue for the occasion. So my hands are still kind of blue. My girlfriend's hands are all blue still. It's a good time. But if you haven't checked out the stream, come check it out, twitch.tv/ZukoVibes. We're having a lot of fun over there, checking out all the Shaman changes. And I've covered them all in Mythic Plus and stuff. I'm going to show you some footage. We're going to talk about Ele Shaman today. We're going to talk about the rework. It's going to be a lot of time spent on the talents here. Just giving you some fair warning because there's so many changes here that I have to cover. The gameplay in this video is just not going to be as much. There is some at the very end, but if you want to skip ahead, that's fine. But I'll give you a TLDR. The play style of Elemental Shaman isn't like changing that dramatically, okay? You're still doing a lot of the same things that you've been doing before. You might be weaving a couple of different spells in that you didn't weave together before, but generally speaking, you're still pressing Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt and Earthquake and Lava Burst. Like those are all still the same, okay? So it's not like a radical rework where there's like brand new abilities, which I think a lot of us had kind of hoped for, but there are a lot of amazing changes here that are really good, and we're going to talk about them, okay? First and foremost, let me just scroll back up here. Here we go. There's a bunch of talents on here that are not working right now, so I just want to highlight this really clearly. Lightning Conduit, for example, is working when I put Lightning Shield on, but it doesn't work if I take it off, or sorry, it doesn't work if I have Earth Shield on at the same time. Sometimes it just doesn't work at all. So this is a brand new talent that gives you more nature damage when you have Lightning Shield active, which is awesome, but it's just kind of wonky right now. So there's a bunch of, I'm going to talk about a couple of other talents here, but there's a bunch of talents that aren't working or don't do any damage basically, which means the damage that we have right now on the beta is completely subject to change. Like my Ele Shaman damage is, it's gonna be very different looking, okay? Because a lot of these talents just aren't working. Echo of the Elementals, which is down here, isn't working for the Storm Elemental. So it says whenever your Storm Elemental or Fire Elemental expire, they leave behind a lesser Elemental, which is really, really cool. It's not really working for the Storm Elemental, which is kind of annoying. There's a brand new imbuement that we get on our shield, which is really cool. Imbue your shield with the element of lightning for an hour, giving Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning a chance to call down 2 thunder strikes on your target. It's working, but it's doing almost negative damage. So again, this is going to change as well. It's going to get buffed, I'm sure. I just want to help you understand and be aware of it, that the numbers that you're going to see are just going to, subject to change. And then Earth and Rage is returning, which is an old school, used to be a mastery for Ele Shaman, and it says your damaging spells incite the earth around you. Again, it's doing basically negative damage. So we'll see what Blizzard decides to do with that. I just want to highlight that there's talents that are either not working at all or do basically no damage. Let's start at the top here with this tree for a second. First of all, every single talent on this tree is a 1-point node now. It is a 1-point node only. There are no 2-pointers at all, which is amazing. Huge change for Ele. It increases your pathing that you can go down the tree. It increases your flexibility in which talents you want to take. It allows you to create all kinds of different builds that you weren't able to create before because you were hindered by 2-pointers. So that's amazing. Number 1, we start with Earthshock or Ele Blast now. So this is now just a choice node. There are very good reasons to take one or the other. For example, if you take Earthshock, it does a lot less damage than Ele Blast, but it costs way less Maelstrom, and it's instant cast. So you can move while casting, and it synergizes quite well with Surge of Power, right? So the more Earthshocks you can cast, the more Surge of Power procs that you get, which is really, really cool. Aftershock probably synergizes a little bit better with Elemental Blast, for example. But there's other new talents here like Storm Frenzy, which we'll get to in a minute, which also synergize quite well with having Earthshock instead of Ele Blast, because the more Earthshocks you cast, the more Storm Frenzy procs that you get. So there's going to be a case to be made for either one of these spells. Obviously, Ele Blast does way more damage and gives you a buff, which is really cool. But Earthshock is just so much cheaper and instant, and that is a really big deal. So we'll see how that kind of develops when I do more videos on actual Ele builds in the future, okay? Flash of Lightning. We'll talk about this in a second. I want to cover the mastery first, okay? Let's talk about mastery. So we have a brand new mastery, okay? Not entirely new, but it is new. Increases all elemental and physical damage dealt by 1%. And then your lightning bolt, lava burst, chain lightning casts have a chance to overload. That's staying the same. You also still have mountains will fall. So you have, it's lightning bolt, chain lightning, and then your lava burst, and then your earth shock, Ele blast, and earthquake. They can all overload, okay? Just like they could before. Now, those overloads now do way less damage. So they don't do 100% of the damage that your initial ability did. They only start at 25% of the damage that your initial ability did. But that can be buffed with talents like Echo Chamber, which will increase the damage of your overloads by 10%. And then there's other overload synergistic talents, even in the hero tree, like Supercharge. Your overloads have a chance to overload again. So important to understand, your chance to overload remains the same. Every 1% mastery that you get increases your chance to overload by 1%. Okay, very, very good. Every 3% mastery that you get increases all your damage by 1%. So the scaling is a little different between those two things, but your chance to overload is the exact same it is now. So if you scale your mastery, you'll still have a really, really good chance to overload. It's just that your overloads won't do anywhere near as much damage as they used to do. But that means that you're doing more damage all the time now instead of that. Now, they're going to have to balance this some way. I don't know if this is necessarily worse than it was before. At the beginning of an expansion, this mastery is much better than the current one we have, because the current one that we have at the beginning of an expansion, it's quite low. Your mastery's at like 25%, 35% kind of thing. So you're not getting any damage bonus, but you have a low chance to overload, even though your overloads do a lot of damage. In the new mastery, your overloads don't do very much damage, but you're not reliant on your overloads only to do damage now. You're just getting flat damage every time you get mastery on your gear. So I think it's really important to understand this, that it's going to smooth out the damage, in my opinion. You're not reliant on these spikes of overloads coming in to give you a bunch of extra damage. You're just getting the flat damage. So whether or not this is straight up worse than it is right now, we have to wait and see based on testing and all that kind of jazz. For now, I think it's a good direction for them to go, where we're not relying as much on overloads. Even though I like overloading, I know you like overloading, but it's not as required anymore. So that's pretty cool. Okay. Also, one quick other thing about the mastery. This also now buffs our damage to abilities that cannot overload. So for example, your liquid magma totem, your flame shock, your frost shock, all the damage from our elementals, our fire elemental, our storm elemental, and damage from our hero talents. Those all do more damage now than they did before, because they weren't on the overload table anyway. Does that make sense? So that's really important to understand as well. All your other damage that you have is basically buffed now that wasn't buffed before, and that's going to become more substantial when we get to things like Skybreakers, where Flame Shock can become a more meaningful part of your damage, and it can't overload, but it's getting more damage from your mastery, which is really cool. Okay, let's move forward. We're going to talk about new talents that are in this, that have all been changed or brand new. Ice Fury is now passive. Casting Lava Burst has a chance to replace your next Frost Shock with Ice Fury, and when this happens, your Ice Fury is instant cast, okay? I will make sure I explain that to you. It's instant cast, which is really cool. Let me just try and get this going here. Oh, it's very laggy on the beta right now. Incredibly laggy. So you cast your Lava Burst. I'm not in the right spec for this, but it is what it is. We're just going to suffer together here. If I get a proc here, then it will make my Frost Shock an instant Ice Fury instead of, you know, the Frost Shock that it is now. And then once I cast that instant Ice Fury, it's going to end up my next couple of Frost Shocks are going to do more damage. Now, the Frost Shocks do not cleave. There's no ability to cleave them and do AoE damage like you can right now, but it does do a lot of extra single target damage. Here we go. We got a proc. So our Ice Fury right here, I'm going to press it. Boom. That's instant. And then it makes my next two Frost Shocks do way more damage, okay? So if I press that Frost Shock, it did 500k. That one almost did. That one didn't crit. And then also, once I've done that, my next nature spell, which will be Lightning Bolt, will cast an Ele Blast for free. That's going to lag. Did it even cast the Ele Blast there? Oh my god, the lag is so bad. I can't even tell what's happening. There's that Ele Blast for free. It just went flying. That's impossible to see. That's this talent here, Fusion of the Elements. So after casting Ice Fury, the next time you cast a nature or a fire spell, you additionally cast Ele Blast at 60% effectiveness. This is really cool. So Button Bloat, right? Ice Fury is gone. It's a passive thing now. It synergizes very, very well with the fire build, less so with a lightning build because it's based on lava burst casting, right? I love this. It makes your frost shocks hit pretty hard, actually. Where's my frost shock damage? Yeah, frost shocks can actually end up hitting really, really hard. Like 500k or a little bit higher is no joke at all. And it's also going to give you this other buff, which gives you an elemental blast, which is really cool, which synergizes with elemental equilibrium. So you could take Earth Shock as your main spender, but have the Ice Fury talents here, and because of Fusion of the Elements, you're gonna get an Elemental Equilibrium proc for free from that Ele Blast that gets sent out. Now, you can proc Elemental Equilibrium manually with like Lava Burst, Frost Shock, and then a Lightning Bolt, but it's easy to get it for free, which is really cool. I like the synergy that they're working on here. And then, of course, there's Flux Melting. Every time you cast Frost Shock or Ice Fury, your next Lava Burst is increased by 20%, which is great. So I love what they've done with this line. I think it's really, really powerful now. I think it's a great way to incorporate Ice Fury. This was on my bingo card of making Ice Fury passive. I love what they've done with this. It's really good. Okay, very, very strong. And again, works quite well with a fire-based build, which is super good. Okay. Everlasting Elementals over here increases the duration of your elementals by 20%. This only applies to your main 2 elementals, and it takes them from a 30-second duration to a 36-second duration from what I've seen. You are going to be able to spawn additional elementals with things like Echo of the Elements and with Fury of the Storms now, which is really cool, but these guys do not seem to be benefiting from the increased duration of Everlasting Elementals. I've submitted it as a bug report right now. We'll see if it actually is a bug or if it's intentional. Okay. Elemental Unity. Is that down here? Hold on. Where is that? Elemental Unity. Oh, it's over here. Sorry. So this increases your nature damage or your fire damage depending on which elemental you have active at the same at that time. And this isn't working right now. Again, a lot of talents that just don't seem to be working. When I summon my Storm Elemental, my damage does not seem to be going up. For example, if I do it right now, my Lightning Bolt does 111,000 damage right now. 111,000 damage. If I summon my Storm Elemental, it still does 111,000 damage. You can see in the bottom right corner of the screen there. So this is not working. This should be giving me 10% more nature damage, which includes my Lightning Bolt, of course. So, and then again, another bug report, but this is cool. This emphasizes having your elementals out as much as possible, which means it's going to synergize very, very well with Skybreakers, which reduces the cooldown of your elementals based on your Flame Shocks critting, right? So if you have this plus Skybreakers, you're going to get your elementals out often, like maybe once every minute and a half, and then you're going to be doing more damage when your elementals are active, which is great. That makes me feel like an elemental shaman if I actually have to prioritize my elementals, right? Very, very cool. I like this, the design of this. It's just not working right now, which is a little bit annoying. Okay, Flash of Lightning reduced the cast time of Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning by 1 second. That's a buff on the current Flash of Lightning, and it now gives you critical strike chance and of Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning by 10%, which is awesome. This synergizes super well with the Stormbringer tree, which has Stormcaller, which increases the critical strike chance of all your nature spells by 10%. So now you've got 20% crit on your Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning, which is disgusting. Like just flat 20% more crit. On top of whatever crit you have. I have 8% right now, but imagine as you scale this into the later part of the expansion, let's say you have 30% crit and then you get 20% more from these two. Now you have 50%. That's disgusting, right? That's really, really good. On top of that, your crits do more damage with Elemental Fury, and there's a new talent that buffs them called Primordial Fury. Elemental Fury increases your critical strike damage by an additional 25%. Now your crits do 275% of normal damage instead of 200. That is insanely strong. So there's a whole bunch of crit synergy here, not just for the Storm build, but of course for the Fire build, which has a lot of Lava Burst casting, and Lava Burst always crits when you hit somebody with a Flame Shock, right? So your damage just goes way up. Like, this is just a massive boost to your damage. I can't stress this enough. This talent represents an enormous amount of damage for Ele Shaman, and it's really cool that they're digging. Blizzard is really going hard into this crit synergy, and they're adding it on Flash of Lightning. They're adding it in the Stormcaller tree, and then it's already added into the Fire build because of how Lava Burst works. So really like this. I think it's going to be a lot of damage, and we're all going to be kind of surprised by this, which is really cool. Okay, Storm Frenzy, excuse me. Your next Chain Lightning or Lightning Bolt has a 40% reduced cast time after casting Earth Shock, Ele Blast, or Earthquake. So again, this has really good synergy with a low cost spender like Earth Shock, and the quality of life is really, really good. It's awesome to see where you just keep getting this accumulation of quick cast time. In the beginning of an expansion, again, our haste is really low. This is going to make it feel very, very good, especially early on, but it's just going to scale and be a nice little bonus for you as you're weaving spells in and out, right? Getting that quicker cast time is super cool. Okay. Thunder Strike Ward. This is a brand new imbue that we get on our shield. It imbues your shield with the element of lightning for an hour, giving Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning a chance to call down 2 Thunder Strikes on the target for 12,000 nature damage. It's good, as I said earlier, but the damage is just not good enough, and they need to buff this. But I love having an additional imbue. I think it's really fun to have that as an Ele Shaman, and on top of this, you can buff your weapon imbues by 30% with enhanced imbues. This directly buffs the damage that Thunder Strike Ward is doing, so you can get some synergy there as well. Very cool. It just needs to hit a little bit harder. It's not hitting very hard right now. Echo of the Elementals. As I said earlier, this is not working the way that it's supposed to be working right now, but it's cool to have an additional little elemental. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's been my experience on the beta right now. I've submitted a bug report, don't worry. Now we have new Ascendance talents and Ascendance itself. Right now, on the Elemental tree, you have to take either Ascendance or Deeply Rooted, but in the War Within, you get both, which is actually a massive W for the fire build for Ele Shaman. This is really, really cool. I keep knocking down my stupid thing. The reason this is cool is because you're going to be fishing for your Deeply Rooted procs all the time with the fire build. And then on top of that, now you have a guaranteed DPS window that's going to be really strong. So you're fishing for procs, and then the tank goes and pulls a massive, 10 mobs together. And like, okay, this is my moment. I'm going to drop Liquid Magma Totem. I'm going to spread my Flame Shocks, and I'm going to press Ascendance, and I'm going to go. And then you can either choose to do like a bunch of lava beams if you want, or continue to throw in those lava bursts, of course, and benefiting from the extra crit damage from Elemental Fury. But you have a guaranteed window now where you can do damage, and then the rest of the time you go back to doing your proc-based gameplay. So you get both of them, which is really good. Also, there's new supporting talents. You can either make Ascendance a 2-minute cooldown, which is really cool, to have that guaranteed DPS window up more often, or you can increase your haste by 25% while you're in Ascendance and increase the duration by 3 seconds. From my testing, this does not increase the duration of a Deeply Rooted proc at all, but it does increase the duration, of course, of your base Ascendance, which goes from 15 seconds to 18 seconds, and then gives you 25% haste. The 25% haste does apply when you get a Deeply Rooted proc as well. So I think Preeminence is probably just the play. Have a 3-minute Ascendance where you're just giga juiced when you're inside that Ascendance, and then every time you proc Deeply Rooted, you're also giga juiced as well. You're attacking so fast with the 25% haste. If you combine this 25% haste of Preeminence with Splintered Elements, you're getting 45% more haste with the Primordial Wave buff, and I mean potentially more. You could get like 50-60% haste inside your Ascendance window with the Primordial Wave buff going as well. Like, that's a really cool combo, and it makes the fire build incredibly potent now. So I love this. I think it's very strong. Awesome talent. Yeah, really like this a lot. Echoes of the Great Sundering got buffed. This used to be a 2-point talent, and now it's a 1-point talent for the same effect that the 2-point talent gave you. I don't like Echoes of the Great Sundering gameplay-wise, but it synergizes really, really well with Aftershock, and I think as a one talent point now, I think it's actually very strong. Like, if it costs two talent points, once again, it's not as good, but as only a 1-pointer, it's incredibly strong, and again, synergizes very well with a low-cost spender like Earthshock. Now, if you take Aftershock, maybe you want to go Ele Blast and like fish for those procs, but either way, Echoes of the Great Sundering is actually a lot better, even though I didn't really want this to be in the tree anymore. Okay. Fury of the Storms, activating Stormkeeper summons a powerful lightning elemental. This is an old Legion artifact talent that's coming back. It's cool. He actually does a decent amount of damage. He could be buffed a little bit, I think, but the frequency with which you get to summon this guy is pretty good because, of course, you're getting Flash of Lightning, which cools down your nature spells, which includes Stormkeeper and Storm Ele, but includes Stormkeeper. So every time you cast Stormkeeper, of course, you're going to be, every time you cast a lightning spell, you're cooling down Stormkeeper, and you're going to be getting closer to summoning this Fury of the Storms guy once again. Okay. Let's look at the Primordial Wave line really quickly. So, sorry, Earth and Rage is back. I think I already said that. It doesn't do enough damage. Sorry about my voice. Okay. Primordial Wave is still here. A lot of people don't like it. I understand. I totally get that. But it's still here. It's part of the fire build. It's really good. And it has Splintered Elements, which gives you lots of extra damage. You do not have cooldown reduction on Primordial Wave anymore. So it's just a 30-second cooldown now, which is awesome. But you can't cool it down at all. So you used to be able to get Primordial Wave down to being like a 10 to 15 second cooldown if you had enough Lava Burst proccing, but you can't do that anymore. But that's okay. It's a standard 30-second cooldown. It works very well. You get that big haste bonus. And then Liquid Magma Totem is our new capstone. It does a lot of damage, and it only applies 3 Flame Shock still. So if you were hoping to get more Flame Shock application, I'm sorry, but that's not in the cards for Ele. It's going to be the same amount of that you have to do right now. So you're still going to want to probably take like Surge of Power to get those extra spreading Flame Shocks after you use a Spender. Combine that with Liquid Magma Totem, and then you're kind of off to the races, right? Primordial Wave, Liquid Magma Totem, 2 Flame Shocks, and then boom, you've got 6 in total. I know people do not enjoy that gameplay style, but let me tell you that with Skybreakers coming back, obviously Wind Speakers, Lava Resurgence is gone. The gameplay loop with Wind Speakers is gone, where you use a Spender and then you get a Lava Burst proc. That's all gone. But Skybreakers is now here. It reduces the cooldown of your elemental massively. And if you're doing a fire build and focusing on pressing Lava Burst a lot, you're going to cool down your fire elemental a lot. And whenever you summon your fire elemental and then apply Flame Shocks to enemies, they last a lot longer. So there's some good quality of life there where you can combine Skybreakers with all your fire stuff and keep your Flame Shocks going for a lot longer. So there's that. It's not the best case scenario for Flame Shock, but it is what it is. That's kind of what we're working with, okay? Primal Elementals is also at the bottom. It's very good to get as well. It's not sharing a node with Liquid Magma Totem anymore, which is really, really great. That is pretty fantastic. Okay, those are all the talent changes that are here. My TLDR on this is that I'm going to say everything being a 1-point node is really good. It gives you better pathing, more flexibility. There is a very clear fire build and a very clear lightning build. And Blizzard has now also introduced a very clear combination build where you're kind of weaving the two together and you're doing fire into lightning. Things like Master of the Elements, buffing your next cast with every time you cast Lava Burst. That's really cool. Having crit apply not only to the fire stuff, but also to lightning stuff as well with Flash of Lightning. Getting extra crit synergy is really good. Stormkeeper can now... You can go from Stormkeeper into Fury of the Storms into Deeply Rooted, and you can have, obviously, Ascendance with Stormkeeper, which means you pop Ascendance, you pop Stormkeeper, and you get these really, really big lava beams that go out and kill everything, which is super cool. You have Skybreakers, which can cool down either one of your elementals, whichever one you want to pick. I think there's actually some really good synergy here. For example, I was kind of cooking a lightning build that had, like, if we dump a couple talents here... Let's dump this one. I had Liquid Magma Totem and Skybreakers, which I don't have right now. I'd have to drop like this maybe. Take Skybreakers here. So I had a build... Oh, no, I have to do this one. Sorry. I have a build like this where I have Skybreakers with a Storm Ele. So now I'm applying Flame Shocks to a bunch of enemies at the beginning of a fight, and I'm summoning my Storm Elemental, and then I'm doing lightning stuff. I'm doing a ton of lightning stuff. I'm blasting with Tempest and Chain Lightning, and we're overloading and all that kind of stuff. My Flame Shocks are just there as a supplemental piece of damage. They're doing actually a lot of damage on their own, but they're also cooling down my Elemental because of Skybreakers. And so there's going to be a lot of different builds, I feel, for Elemental Shaman, I think, moving into the War Within. And I'm very actually excited about that. I think it really helps to solidify the design space for Ele, where it's like you can go fire, lightning, or you can do both. And I'm going to be really trying my best on stream actually over the next couple of days to figure out some different build ideas and really work with the community, work with you guys on Twitch, and to see like, how do we make this work? How do we make this combo build work? What's the best lightning build? What's the best fire build? And then I'm going to produce some videos for you guys to see on that as well, but I'm not going to do that today. I will just show you a little bit of footage from our dungeon testing. Once again, this is just me literally throwing together a random lightning build with the flame shock buffs that I just showed you with liquid magma totem, and seeing like how much damage I could pump out, and it ended up being pretty good. I was very pleased with it over the course of this dungeon. We just did a +6 on the dungeon, which is pretty good actually. The difficulty of this is quite good. But yeah, I think there's a lot of experimenting that has yet to be done, guys, and I would love to hear what you think in the comments down below. My opinion of this is that there are a lot of things you can do with this tree. I'm very excited to try it out, and all the changes that I've seen here really make me feel like I want to play Elemental Shaman. It feels fun to play. It looks good. It sounds good. The flexibility in the talent tree is there. On top of all the cool stuff happening in our spec tree, of course, we have the new defensive stuff happening in our class tree, which makes us much tankier, which is another awesome part of just the whole rework on shamans in general, is just being way tankier. But it's fun to play. That's the big thing. It feels good. I like the synergy that they're doing. I like that they're weaving all the elements together. I do feel like there's more of a complete package now for Ele Shaman. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. I've kind of just tried to show you the stuff that is going to be working with the new talent tree, the synergies that are there. I'm going to do more videos over the next couple of weeks talking about the different builds that are possible. Stay tuned for those. Thank you so much again for watching, though. I love you all. Let me know what you think in those comments down below, and I will see you in the next one.